Hello, in this screencast you will learn how to access and use the EL PMT, which is the English Learner Progress Monitoring Tool, which replaces our paper ELD progress profiles. In order to access this online tool, please go ahead and open any web browser, type ps.ausd.us/teachers, and then you'll have an opportunity to sign in with your credentials. Sign in. And for demonstration purposes, I am linked to a teacher who teaches kindergarten, and we're going to be looking at her students' PMTs. So for this screen, you have your homeroom and your kinder standards. This is where you take attendance, I believe. So if you click on this tab right here that says Class Demographics, it will take you to a list of all of your students. Under the FLN, which stands for Fluency, you will be able to scroll down and see all of your ELs. Some of these might say IFEP, RFEP. The PMT is linked to all students who have an EL right there, right down here. If you click on any EL students, it will not link to any PMT. So go ahead and click on any PMT, and then you'll open a small window like that. Don't worry, you're not going to be working within a small window like this. You have the opportunity to maximize it. So go to this right here and click on Maximize, and then you'll have a large screen to work with. Notice that the student has information along the top. U.S. enrollment date, test scores, their primary language, and reading SRI stands for Scholastic Reading Inventory. This is usually done for 8th graders, so you can ignore this. And their SALT scores will also be here as well. So what I want you to notice is that right here there's an EL PMT score. As you change and input here, you will be able to see the EL PMT score go up. And then that will correspond to any of these designations: newcomer, emerging, expanding, bridging. And when their students are ready for reclassification, when they get to 137 points, this score will signify that they're ready for reclassification. Okay, so at this point, let's go ahead and see what this tool allows us to do. So underneath the emerging column, if you click on the arrow pointing down, notice that there's a blank choice, and then there's an asterisk, standard previously met. I'll go into the explanation later. If you hover over any grade level, you'll see what the standard is in a pop-up window. Go ahead and notice that it opens a pop-up window, and some of the standards are the same for certain grade levels. For example, kindergarten, I'm going to change that back to blank, which is good. So notice that kindergarten and first grade are the same. Second grade is the same. Third grade, it changes. Fourth grade is the same as third. Fifth grade is the same as third. Sixth grade, it changes. So when you do this, you're going to see different pop-ups. Now, since I'm doing this as a kindergarten teacher, I'm only going to choose TK and K, and that's it. If I have a student I feel is brand new and emerging, I will only choose TK and K. If I have a student who I feel is already expanding in that level, and it's possible, I'll start filling out TK and K here. Notice that this signifies that the student has met this particular standard as my kindergarten student. But you also want the student to receive points for the previous year. So what you'll need to do is go back and put an asterisk right there. So notice that now, having filled out TKK here to show that the student successfully was able to demonstrate the standard as a TK student or as a kindergarten student, and filling out an asterisk here, notice that the student has 4 points. If I went back to blank, notice that the point drops. Emerging column, all of these are worth 1 point. This column, everything is worth 3 points. And if you'll notice the last column, it is worth 5 points. So notice how as the students have all of their columns filled, their score goes up. Now this student is at 9 points is now considered an emerging student. But notice it's kind of funny how the student is an emerging student even though they're working in the bridging level. So you'll kind of have to look at every one of these individually rather than just relying on this score over here. Okay. Remember, if you make a mistake, you'll have the opportunity to change it back to blank. When you're ready to submit, after you fill it out, please remember to scroll down and click on Submit right here. If you do not do that, any of the changes you make here will not register. Okay. Notice that below this chart that has ELD parts 1 and 2, there is a box for optional notes. These are all optional. What it means is that if you want to leave a note for the next year, for the teacher next year, you're welcome to do so. Go ahead and say things like, in kindergarten, the student still needs to work with modifying to add details. You can add something like that. Make sure it's academic, it's related to the standards, and it's related to something that they need to improve in order to perhaps move to the next level. So your notes are going to be down here. Let's say in kindergarten, they successfully satisfy a writing standard. Oops. Notice that there is a writing standard right here. Let's say in kindergarten, they were able to successfully do all of these things that are listed here. I will put TK, and I'll remember to put the word sample in this box. Typing the word sample and submitting, I'm going to do this just for now, and I could change it later. Notice that once I do that, and I click back, this student now has a link that says English sample. So when you click on English sample, it will, right now the sample has not been scanned, but if there were a sample, you would see a PDF of that student sample, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. So what happens is that now I have to go back to open that student's ELD PMT or ELPMT, and since I submitted this for this teacher, I'm going to change it back to blank. Notice that I changed it back to blank, and I'm also going to delete sample, and once I click on submit, it's back to being a blank slate for that teacher. So notice that every time you hit the word submit, it's going to change to whatever changes you have. Okay? Here are the links to the standards. If you click to this, it will open a window that shows you the California standards. And another thing is, if you click here, it will open to a document that allows you to learn how to use the PMT. So every one of these links will take you to a different chapter. Okay, so it's like a table of contents that'll take you to a different chapter. Okay, so I feel like I've shown you enough of it. Remember, when you're filling it out as a certain teacher for a certain grade level, you're only going to choose your grade level. So I would not, as a 4th grade teacher, choose any other standards than 4th grade. Okay, so I'm going to pretend to be a 4th grade teacher right now. So if I am a 4th grade teacher, I'm only going to choose 4 when my students successfully finish the standard. Now, if I have a student who is brand new to me as a 4th grade teacher, I will make sure to indicate that the standard was previously met at a different school district or with a different teacher, especially if it's already blank. Because you're not going to start with emerging and put that the student successfully met the standard when he's already or she's already like bridging or expanding. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to change it all to blank. You're only going to input your own grade level. So when you see a brand new ELPMT next year, you may see a lot filled out by the 3rd grade teacher, with all of these being 33333, and then you may also see a configuration where the student may have successfully done this in kinder, this one was done in 2nd grade, and as a 4th grade teacher, you would fill out bridging once the student successfully completes everything. There should also be red flags. Notice that if a student is emerging for a long time, perhaps you may have to do some kind of intervention with that student with ELD, okay? So that's it. This video has been long enough. Thank you for watching.